welcome to Draft for Upside. This is Brewery Mark. With me, I have Danger Cole.
Yo, yo, yo.
How's it going today, sir?
Well, I am living the high life, my friend.
Quite literally, I hear.
Indeed. Not only am I living the high life, speaking of high, it's now legal as of today to recreationally smoke the marijuana in
In
Michigan.
the state of Michigan.
That is correct.
I'm not personally a marijuana guy, but I like beer.
Yes.
So I will
love it.
open my show day beer. It's very good.
What you drinking?
Starting out with a little all day, and then I have a Sam Adams Christmas Ale to back it up.
I like it. I like it. Well, I'm drinking my high life out of a champagne-sized bottle, so it might last me first half hour. Maybe. We'll see what happens. It's the last beer in the house, so I got to take it easy.
All right. Hey, and joining us is our newest correspondent, Chris Emmerich. Chris, did you get that headset figured out?
Yeah, I wish I knew what that bubbling noise was. It would be a pretty awesome thing if I had a fish tank, but I sure don't. So does it sound better now?
Not at all. Sounds exactly the same.
Yeah, it's
so
still
just
there.
go with the fish tank story. It's fine.
Hey,
It's fine.
there we go. All right,
Every week, tell us about what new exotic fish that you added to the tank.
sounds good.
Do you happen to be drinking a beer right now?
Yeah, so a brewery out here in Florida, Cycle Brewery, just started canning their Crank IPA. It's brewed out of Brew Hub, and so it's about 20 minutes from my house to go there. So I went and picked up a 6-pack.
Nice. Now, what area of Florida do you live in?
I live in Lakeland, so right in between Tampa and Orlando.
Yeah, my parents live in Mulberry, so I'm down there a lot.
Oh yeah, it's not even actually technically Lakeland. I live in a unincorporated part. My mailing address is Lakeland, but it's basically between Lakeland, Mulberry, and Bartow.
So have you tried the new Swan Brewery?
I have not. I had a couple situations where I was going to get out there. I haven't made it for whatever reason.
Yeah, they're on my list of things to hit as soon as I go to Florida.
Yeah, I hear they're pretty good. Like I said, I've been meaning to get out there. It just hasn't happened yet.
So let's recap the week a little bit. How did everybody do last week in DFS?
Well, I would have done a lot better if Aaron Jones had some more snaps, but overall it came out all right. I got onto Tariq Cohen late to go along with Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey. Unfortunately, I didn't put all three of them together. I had Cohen with Tyreek Hill and Mahomes instead of Kelsey, and that kind of limited my upside a little bit.
Yeah, I nailed my cash lineup and cleaned house there, so doubled up my cash money. But man, I'm struggling on GPPs the last couple of weeks. I just can't seem to find the right combination. So, how about you, John? How'd you do?
I lost my last $4, Mark.
You did.
I lost my last $4.
Do you need a loan?
Maybe need one of them payday loans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite possible. So, yeah, man, I had 50-50. So like 6 of my players were absolute gangbusters, and the other half were like absolute duds. I missed the cash line in the cash game by like a point and a half.
Oh. Yeah,
So,
that's how I was in GPP. All right, so the good news is that Aaron Jones should have a much better week now that Mike McCarthy's gone.
Yeah, possibly. But here's the thing. Philbin was calling the plays. He's still there calling the plays. So, maybe.
Well, there's some. Actually, the majority of people, from what I read, said McCarthy was calling all the plays.
Ah.
Philbin was offense coordinator in title only.
I see. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know. Well, more importantly, let's get Chris talking about NBA since we got about 55 minutes before the locks, and we'll have him go over the article that we posted at draftforupside.com, which is our webpage. Again, it is in beta form. Please bear with it. Beginning of next football season, it should be shiny and polished and ready to go, but it is DRAUGHT, like draft beer, forupside.com. So go check that out. And Chris, what you got for us, man? Tell us about the hoops.
Yeah, well, I mean, the slate tonight is a 3-game slate. It's about as ugly as the Thursday slate is for the NFL. You got a couple games where teams just aren't very good going against other good teams, and some matchups that just don't necessarily excite. I mean, we open it up with the New York Knicks visiting the Celtics. The Knicks have been terrible. They did beat the Celtics the last time they played, but we're playing in Boston. There's not a lot to like here. The problem is that it's a 3-game slate, so we've got to find something to like. I personally like Moutier from the Knicks. He's been playing over 30 minutes since Baker's out, or since Burke's out. Baker's irrelevant, but it gives him a little bit more time. Fitzale has said that he wanted Moutier to be the guy there in New York at the point, and so getting that little extra run, I expect it to continue. If there is a weakness in the Celtics defense, it is going to be Kyrie Irving, so hopefully he can take advantage of that and crush some value. Other than that, I mean, this game has a 13.5 point line. I think it opened at 12 or 12.5. A lot of the smart money or sharp money is on the Celtics side of this game. So the problem that you have with a lot of the players over there is that, look, they might be up 15, 20 points, and the starters are not going to get some run in that fourth quarter. Conversely, they might have some type of game there, and so you can't really necessarily bank on a blowout. Those are about as easy to predict as anything else, and so it puts you in a kind of a weird situation. My favorite plays are Marcus Morris if he's playing from the bench. I like Kyrie Irving. I like Moutier. I'm staying away from Hardaway. Look, you can tell me that it makes sense, and if you play him and he's in your lineup, okay. I just don't see him producing in this spot here against the defense that he's going to face. So that's where I'm at with that. The other games are pretty much the same thing. I mean, we've got a Suns team that's missing T.J. Warren. It's missing Devin Booker, and really only is fielding right now 1 or 2 NBA players. This is a G League team at best without these guys in there. They scored 9 points in the first quarter, the last game that they came out. So the concern that you have here is that when a team is that bad, what kind of production are you going to get? All the prices are attractive. Josh Jackson, probably my favorite play along with Trevor Ariza, but the rest of these guys, it's just unsure. We're not sure who's going to play at the point. And that creates some cloudiness as well. I do like Rashawn Holmes, hoping that it is a blowout, but again, just not a really attractive game here. On the other side of things, Damian Lillard's going to be super chalk. So the question that you have to ask yourself is, what kind of ownership percentage is he going to have? I'm thinking probably somewhere between 40 to 70%, depending on what site it is. Do you want to eat that chalk? I think it's good chalk to eat, but in a 3-game slate, you kind of have to differentiate. I don't think a lot of people should be playing cash tonight. It should be a GPP kind of night.
Yeah, so I don't follow too much NBA. I used to watch when the Pistons were good. That kind of faded out. So, but DFS, I've played a little bit here and there. I used to follow Roto Grinders quite religiously on a day-to-day basis, and used to get some good insight there, of course. But I don't really play much anymore. So for people just getting into NBA and trying to change it up, coming off of the NFL season ending here in another month and a half here, what is kind of your beginner strategy for people? Is there little things you like to keep an eye out on, like watching out for playing big men that are on the second half of a back-to-back? I mean, what are the little things that novice players can pick up on right away?
I think the mistake a lot of people make in NBA, and I think that's made, across every sport, is just play good players. I mean, if you look up and down your lineup and you can't, you can find a player that you're not happy with playing, even though you're trying to stick a min-price player in there hoping that he's going to 5x. I mean, the reality is that if you're putting that min-price player in there, you shouldn't be thinking that he's going to 5x. You really want him to 10x. That's what he's doing for your lineup. Now, it's a little different in FanDuel because you do drop your lowest score, so you can kind of fit two of those guys in there, hope one goes off, not really care about the other. But you're really looking for people that are going to be on the floor. So minutes equals money. Yeah, back-to-backs has something to do with it. 3 games in 4 days has something to do with it. Road teams going into Denver after playing, on the road in a road trip, that could be a problem too. But there's not necessarily a hard, fast rule because certain players are going to do different in different situations. And some of the things that I mentioned are an advantage for some players where they're going to be a disadvantage for others. The biggest thing is to just stay ahead of the news, know what players are ruled out, what players are going to be starting. I mean, tonight, CJ McCollum is not playing. And so that then helps out Damian Lillard, Nick Stauskas, Evan Turner, Yusuf Nurkic. I mean, so for example, let's use Evan Turner as an example here. This is your 6th man on the Portland Trailblazers. If you think Portland's going to blow out the Suns, he's the guy that's going to lose most of his run in the 4th quarter. But now he might get interjected into the starting lineup. I'm not sure if they've even come out with one yet and who's going to play that shooting guard position. So he might get a bump there, and he's certainly going to get a bump with ball handling. He's kind of their de facto second-string point guard. But also, Damian Lillard might get extra run in this game. So you have to look at when a guy is ruled out like CJ McCollum, how does that affect the rest of the team and the dynamic that they have? A good example of it is last night, John Wall was out, Jeff Green was out. So that brought Austin Rivers into the starting lineup, and he was a chalky play. So was Thomas Satoransky, who was going to stay in the starting lineup. He was also a chalky play. But I saw that there were a couple of analysts that thought Kelly Oubre got a huge bump because they've looked at the efficiency and usage that he had with John Wall off the floor. The problem that you're looking at is that he plays a lot of his time with John Wall off the floor because he's on that second unit. So a full game usage bump is a lot different than a singular game usage bump. And all of those guys did very well, but I think Kelly Oubre was, I just saw it in the industry yesterday. People were talking about it, and I just didn't see him getting the same type of bump that the other 3 guys did.
Yeah, gotcha. The other question I have for you, and just this is just me completely not understanding the NBA DFS because I haven't really been playing. So when I used to play, it was a few years back, and lineup locks were when the first game started, and that was it. Now, is it all late swap now?
On DraftKings, you can late swap. Mm-hmm. So you do. If you're going to play on DraftKings, you want to have your phone there so you can make that change if somebody's ruled out, somebody's injured, or you just need that type of leverage because your last player is super chalky and you need something to differentiate you. On FanDuel, what they did to change that or kind of appease the people that were worried about late locks, because it's happened multiple times already this year where a guy is supposed to play and then a minute after lineup's locked, boom, he's ruled out. They said your lowest score is going to be taken out of your lineup. The problem with that is knowing that ahead of time. If it's a guy like Devin Booker who was a late scratch and is going to cost you, $8,000 of your $60,000 salary, you're not going to win even if you get a zero there from him. So the strategy that a lot of people have been employing is going ahead and putting a couple flyers, minimum price guys that could go off because they're in good situations in there, knowing that if they don't, that you can end up dropping that player. And if they go off, great. But it's kind of changed it so you're on FanDuel getting more of those high price studs than you were before.
I gotcha. So really, if you're playing DFS basketball, you got to be a slave to that phone. You got to be there. That's how you keep your edge.
Yeah, either that or you play on FanDuel. And you play on FanDuel, I mean, like I said, they drop the lowest score. You
Sure.
can be angry if somebody's going to be ruled out, but at the end of the day, there's nothing that you or anybody else can do about it. But that's that's where some of the advantage is if there's a guy that's going to be questionable and he's in some of the later games, if you can get exposure to him where other people are going to be risk adverse, you're going to have a huge leverage on that player and that player's ownership. I know that there was an article written by Jonathan Bales recently where it says embrace the risk. That's where some of the advantages lie. So, sometimes if you're building one lineup and it's your cash lineup, that's probably not where you're going to embrace that risk. But GPP is a lottery in and of itself. So embracing that risk on those lower play guys, especially when people can't late swap off of them, it can leave you in a great spot.
Sure, and I remember listening to Tommy G on Midnights with Dr. Roto back in the day, talking about DFS football, and he did the same thing. You take the guys that are questionable, that might be injured, and you just, you hope for the best. But if they play and they go off, you just have that edge there. So embrace the risk was one of his big ideals as well.
Well, and you start to learn what teams are good with injury reporting. You kind of understand what kind of risk is associated. I mean, look, as a hard, fast rule for me, if Anthony Davis went out the game before, I'm probably not playing him the next day. Just because he is so fragile. He goes out so frequently. And you know what? I leave a lot on the table because of that. But it's just one of those rules for me. I play him quite a bit. I just won't play him the game after an injury. This year, the Suns have been a travesty with their injury reporting. I think it was last week they said, and it might have been last Thursday, as a matter of fact, they said, you know what, Devin Booker, he's not going to play. He's doubtful. Then all of a sudden, after lock, he's playing. And then a couple days later, it was like he's going to play, but then after lock, he's not playing. So, it's frustrating, but you learn certain teams have that. It's like in baseball, the Nationals will call off a game if they don't have a good starter out there, easier than anybody else for a rain delay, even when there's not a cloud in the sky. So you just got to learn your teams. You got to learn their tendencies. It's the same thing with players, and it travels across every sport. It's a good thing to have.
And then the last question I have for you, how do you find the field competitively when the start of the season starts and you've got football right in the midst, their swing? Is there more competition, less competition? Do you like playing when people are still distracted by football, or do you enjoy it more when it's in the full swing and it's the main focus?
I don't really see that big of a difference. I mean, I like playing at the beginning of the year because pricing's soft and there are certain situations that you can get on that maybe people haven't sharpened up to. And just the perceptions of different teams in different situations. Even now, I mean, for example, the late game or the latest game is going to be the Rockets and the Jazz. There's this perception that the Jazz, because for many years they have been a very good defensive team, it is a good defensive team. They're not. They're not right now. They're middle of the pack and sometimes awful. It's the same thing that's going on with the San Antonio Spurs. They're the worst team defensively over the last 6 to 10 games and one of the worst in the entire league for the entire year. But there is still a perception that I think amongst casual fans that they're a good defensive team, and the reality is they're not. And so it's a big thing to take advantage of those situations before the public can catch up to them. Again, and this is no different than NFL DFS. And I think there was a perception that the Chargers were a really, really good defense at the beginning of the year, and they played very poorly. And as that kind of shifted and people started saying, well, maybe they're not a very good defense, all of a sudden they shifted back and they played a lot better. So it's just being ahead of that kind of curve.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I love playing fantasy DFS baseball at the beginning of the season. And actually not the beginning of the season, I mean the middle of the season, right before NBA or NFL. I got to put the high life down. I got to put the reefer down. I don't know, something. I like to play in the middle of the season, right as NFL is starting to get going. You get a lot of people jump on the sites because they're itching to play NFL, and they start throwing money into baseball, and I just love that part. You listen to Lenny, and you know what to do, so it's all good.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess if there's a day that's going to be the weakest day is maybe a Monday. People are either chasing, their Sunday losses, or they're blowing their Sunday winnings, one or the other. But NBA can be so volatile, and you can make so many mistakes in hindsight that sometimes having the field there. I just think that in all of these industries at this point, that there's so many resources to people that are so readily available that people don't make some of the mistakes that maybe people 3-4 years ago did.
Certainly. Well, thanks for your input on that, Chris. We appreciate it. Mark and I certainly have no idea what's going on in the world of the NBA, so it's really nice to have you on board.
Yeah, I have no clue about the NBA at all. The Pistons have sucked for so long, I stopped watching it years ago. So
Well, and when you think about it, because I'm from Detroit as well, from the Sterling Heights area, so I lived there when the Pistons were good. The second go around, I'm not really that old that I remember the first go around, just barely. Man, that was some awful basketball, though. I mean, if you remember those scores, it was like 80-70, 90-70. It was really bad to go back and watch it. It was exciting because we were hometown fans, but man, gosh, I can't imagine what people in other cities thought when they watched the Pistons.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the game's actually quite a bit more exciting nowadays. I can attest to that when I do sit down and watch. A little bit more fast-paced than when we were watching the Bad Boys #2 go around.
Yeah, I saw the other day the NBA's like the NFL where they're having record scoring this season. And, the over-unders are routinely breaking 210, 215, which is just crazy in my mind. I remember when 100 points was like only happened a few times a season.
Well, and that's going back to an earlier question, one of the tendencies that you can see in the NBA is the first 2 weeks, the pace is just fanatic. They were scoring 130, they were scoring 250 over-unders. Now, it's kind of come back to kind of the mean, but it's still much more than it was in the early 2000s. But just remember that in the early part of the year, the first 2 weeks, just hammer those overs because they don't catch up for about a week, 2 weeks before they start adjusting them. And players are fresh, they're excited, they're scoring a lot more, and then you just have to then be able to watch that curve and then start hitting the unders as Vegas starts to adjust because the bettors adjust. If you can get ahead of that curve, you've got a good whole month where you should be profiting pretty nicely.
Nice. Lenny in the chat room wants to know, can the Knicks ever win?
I think they have a good coach, but I don't see it anytime soon.
I love it. Well, let's talk about football, Mark.
Yeah, why don't we roll into the Thursday night games since that's the next thing to come up here. Let me bring up some statistics on tonight's game. So tonight we have the Jaguars at the Titans. This is not an exciting game whatsoever. We have a spread of 5.5 in favor of Tennessee. And the over-under is at a lowly 37. So, basically, 3 touchdowns for the Titans, 2 for the Jaguars. Where do we go here? I guess, when you talk these Thursday night slates, who are you going to put in the captain slot on a showdown, John?
I'm putting Jacksonville's D.
Going for the defense.
I think this game is going to go under. I would put money on the under, man. I'm thinking like a 18-12, a 12-9, a 15-12. I mean, this is going to be ugly. This is going to suck. It's going to be a terrible game.
So you're buying into the Jaguars shutting down Andrew Luck is a sign that their defense is back?
I mean, yeah, they've been getting healthier. Ramsey's been doing Ramsey things, and Tennessee is not Indianapolis. They are at home. I get it, but Mariota's been on and off with his arm. The only weapon they have in the wide receiver field is Corey Davis, and Ramsey is even following players to the slot recently, so I don't think they can get away from him. You can't trust either of their running backs. The only guy I kind of remotely like is Jonnu Smith on the Tennessee side. And so if I'm building the lineup, it's probably both kickers, both defenses to start.
Yeah, I don't even think I'm going to put a lineup in. This is how bad this game is. I have no idea where to go with it.
I mean, I think you got to put Fournette in. I think Fournette's going to come out angry and hot after having to sit out a game. So I like him a lot. I do like Jonnu Smith on the other side. There probably is some value in Mariota, maybe. I just think this is a game of field goals. This is a field goal game for me, and I don't trust at all anybody in the Jacksonville passing game.
Yeah, and I think Fournette will be the definitive chalk, and he'll probably be the chalk for the captain slot, would be my guess. Chris, are you building a lineup? Who are you putting in that captain slot?
I think Fournette's the obvious play. But we got to look at it a couple different ways here. I mean, if they are going to score some points, I mean, Jacksonville's defense has shown some, ability to get blown up by some of these players. So I think Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, who seems to only score touchdowns on showdown slates. I also like, let's see, Taylor. I think he could break a couple big catches and kind of break the slate. But also, which one of the running backs are you going to go with? Is it going to be a Derrick Henry game? Is it going to be a Deion Lewis? The problem with the Titans is that you don't feel good about any of these guys, but you know that each one of these guys, heck, even Tajay Sharp could score a touchdown or two in a low-scoring game. That's what you're looking for, is you need to find that one or two guys to go with the kickers or the defense. And then on the Jacksonville side, at some point we may see Blaine Gabbert playing against Cody Kessler in this game. So how do you not play Leonard Fournette? But what wide receiver on Jacksonville? I mean, if I had to pick one, I think I'm leaning towards Westbrook. What about you guys?
Yeah, I agree. I think if I have to pick one on their side, Westbrook's probably my guy. He's got the probably the best chance to get some separation out there. Tennessee cornerbacks are not super great. I don't like Corey Davis at all. I think Ramsey's going to be all over him on the Tennessee side. So if you're going to go Tennessee, I think you definitely got to go with like a Tajay Sharp. But I think Jonnu Smith's the guy. I mean, Jacksonville has been vulnerable to the tight end and across the middle. So I do like Jonnu Smith a lot. Those are my guys.
Yeah, I'm thinking Fournette, Mariota. I think I'm going to go with Henry. Deion Lewis has just disappointed me too often lately. And I'm just going to hope that Derrick Henry can vulture a touchdown somewhere. I'll probably load up Moncrief. I mean, he's been getting a lot of targets lately. So, go for it.
I mean, I think one of the things that, if last week taught us anything is to, kind of think of this game. If you're going to put in a lineup with the defenses and the kickers, far be it for me to tell you that's the wrong thing to do, because that's probably what I would do too if I was just putting in one lineup. I've been doing that every week, actually, as the defenses and kickers lineup, because I've just been waiting for that game to happen. And it did. It happened last week, but it was Indianapolis, Jacksonville, so it wasn't on the showdown slate. But what if this game shoots out? Like, what if this gets crazy? I mean, and by shoots out, I mean like 31-24. How is that going to be distributed? I think Mariota is going to be involved there. Corey Davis is going to be involved. I think still Leonard Fournette's going to be involved. So I think you can get away from the defenses, but I just don't think you can get away from the kickers. I think both of the kickers are kind of must-haves with Leonard Fournette, and then just fill in the other three pieces.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, but I have to say, I mean, they're not going to blow them out like New Orleans blew out Dallas last week, are they, Chris?
Hey, you know what? I got half of that right, though, because I was thinking Dallas was going to score about 10 points. They scored 13. I got that part right. It's just I missed the rest of it.
It's the only thing I got right last week, so I had to get it in there somehow.
Well, and that's the whole point of me saying that this game could be a high-scoring shootout. That's why I kind of tend to look at Tennessee. They're going to be the home team. They've had moments where their offense has looked really, really good. They're just their own worst enemies, and I don't know. This is not an exciting game.
No, it is not at all.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm probably not gonna watch. Oh, this is fine. Everything's fine. I have some questions, season-long questions. Maybe you guys can help me run this out. Maybe the chat room would help us out too. So I made 6 out of 6 playoffs. What do you think of that?
It's pretty darn nice.
Yeah, I'm getting excited. I only got one bye, but that's okay. That's all right. Doesn't bug me. But I have a plethora of running backs. I got this 12-team PPR, and I have some issues here. I have 6 running backs I could start, so I got to narrow it down. I've got Lamar Miller, Nick Chubb, James White, Sony Michel, Spencer Ware, David Johnson, and I got to pick 3.
I like Chubb and Johnson for sure.
See, the more I think about it, the more I'm just liking how Lamar Miller's been playing, and I definitely like Chubb.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that there's been like Lamar Miller, I still don't think he's good at football. I just think he's benefited from game scripts and opponents and how they wanted to play since Watson hurt his rib. I kind of like either Michelle or White, and I don't think that you can go wrong either way. The problem is that I think last week they had 7 guys attempt to rush on the Patriots, so nice little committee that they've got going there. But that being said, White was the primary beneficiary of the passing game. So, it's one of those things you can't get too cute when you get into the playoffs. You just kind of got to get with the guys that got you there. So,
and I agree with that. My issue here is I'm looking at Lamar Miller, who's only cracked the lineup like one time because luckily I've had very good players playing there, but he's rushed over 100 yards 4 of the last 6 games. It's hard to ignore it.
Yeah, but you got Darius Leonard on the other side of that. I mean, Indianapolis's rush defense has been pretty good. Let me pull up their DVOA on the rushing side of the ball here. Take a look at it. They are ranked 4th in DVOA against the rush. So that would be my concern there. And then when you look at those Lamar Miller game logs, I'm pretty sure you're right. They look good if you're just looking at it, but looking into it a little bit deeper, I mean, some of these games were off of, 12 touches, 162 yards against the Titans. He had a 97-yard rush for a touchdown. You take that one rush out of it, and he's at like 50 yards. So, that's my thought against it. I'm really biased. I don't like Lamar Miller. So.
Oh, you keep saying he's bad at football.
Yes.
He is going to finish the season as a 1,000-yard rusher, though, but he may only have 3 or 4 touchdowns to speak of it. So, okay, so you don't like him. I think, I can't play both of the running backs from New England, and I think I got to stick with James White because he's got a role no matter what's going on, and he's got the bigger role if they're behind. So I think you just got to stick with White and leave Michelle on the bench and hope he doesn't have another 90-yard, 2-touchdown game.
Yeah, I like that approach too. You're gonna put Chubb in, right?
Definitely going to play Chubb. I think Carolina's defense is on a downslide, and I think Cam Newton's got a noodle arm. I think there's something wrong with him. I heard that on the radio, and I went back and I looked at some highlights from the game, and the last half of that game, every one of his balls was just a lame duck noodle. I think that Cleveland has the chance to do some clock control and keep the ball on the ground.
Yeah, I actually think Cleveland might take this game. They just... last week was an anomaly for Cleveland, but they're playing really good overall. I think they can take Carolina out.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I would bet on Cleveland with the spread, definitely. I like them a lot in the game, and I think that Baker Mayfield's really showing that he's got what it takes to be an NFL quarterback as well. The other guy I'm kind of debating in here is David Johnson, and I know they're playing Detroit, but they have been going away from David Johnson at the goal line, and that freaks me out a little bit, trying to win my playoff game.
Yeah, that was super frustrating last week. I've got David Johnson in a lot of leagues, and I, unlike you, did not make the playoffs in all of them. I missed 2 of them by 1 game with 2-game losing streaks to end the season. I lost a semifinal playoff game. All of those were because of David Johnson. Those 2 touchdowns really could have helped, but yeah, I mean, I still think he's in a good matchup. I think they can avoid snacks. I think he can get into the passing game, and I think that in a PPR format, he's still he's still a viable weapon. And plus, I mean, he got hurt against Detroit last year, so maybe he's got a little, revenge. Like, hey, you just cost me my whole season last year. Now I've had to play against or play with these terrible offensive coordinators this year when I could have had another year of Bruce Arians last year. I don't know. Maybe that's a thought there. And then just one real brief tidbit on James White. Miami is 27th against passing running backs in DVOA. So, I mean, that's a good matchup there as well.
Yeah, I like it. I like that James White pick for a couple of reasons. I was listening to the radio on my way home, and they're talking about it's supposed to be extremely wet and slick down there too, and they worry about Sony Michel's knee injury if he's got bad traction there. So they might stay away from him a little bit more than normal if it's raining and slick out there.
Yeah, I heard it's supposed to be rain all weekend in Florida, so...
Hate when that happens. So, all right, well, I think that I've made up my mind here. I think I'm going to leave David Johnson in. I'm going to leave Nick Chubb in. I'm going to leave James White in. That's how I had it set up to begin the day, and those are the three that I've been riding for the last month, and I think I just got to keep it that way.
So, hey, I've got a question for one of my leagues. This is a third-place game. I don't really want to pay anything out here, but I went through a little bit of a problem here. I had James Conner. He's not going to play. I had Emmanuel Sanders. He can't play in my flex. So I've got David Johnson. I've got Nick Chubb. Those guys are going to be manning my running back. I've got Mike Evans and Juju as my wide receivers. Now, tight end, I've got Jordan Reed and Njoku, leaning towards Njoku if he plays. Or I'm not really sure what to do in that situation. But then in my flex spot, I've got Corey Davis, Mark Ingram, Jalen Samuels, or Adam Humphries. And this is a standard scoring league, so no PPR action here.
That's interesting. My gut is telling me either Samuels or Humphries. That's where I'm starting at.
I was on Samuels until I heard he was going to be platooning it with Stephen Ridley, and they were going to be splitting it half and half. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a game against the Raiders, so I mean, half against the Raiders is still, better than some guys for a full game.
No, it's true. I think I might have to stick with Humphries here. He's been extremely consistent the last month or so, and I don't know about Samuels. I know everybody's hot for him. In the DFS world, obviously you have to be, like 3,700 on DraftKings. I mean, it's almost like Ware last week. You kind of almost have to consider him. But I'm worried about him. I mean, I had him on almost every team. I dumped him to pick up some injury replacements. So I gave advice for weeks and weeks and weeks, and Mark and I have talked about it. Dump those middling guys and get these backups for these big backs in these big systems. And look what happens. Spencer Ware and Jalen Samuels are now the guys to have. But my issue is we've never seen Samuels on the field. He's been zero part of their offense. He hasn't even played. If he was that good, they'd have found a role for him. And here's the other issue. Stephen Ridley's a veteran who's used to the passing game in a Bill Belichick offense, and he's pretty darn good at picking up blitzes. So I think you're going to see Stephen Ridley on third down, and I also think you might see Stephen Ridley more on the goal line. So I think Samuel comes up as a bust this week. So, I mean, I get the appeal of him, but I think I'm going with Humphries.
I think the appeal is that he scored a touchdown already this year, right? No, it was okay, I'm thinking somebody else. The problem I have with Humphries is, again, it's standard scoring. If he doesn't get in the end zone, and granted it's against New Orleans and he's playing the slot, so he should, but if he doesn't, then he's really dudding, and it's a weird situation because Ingram, Humphries, and Corey Davis. Well, I've got another 40 minutes before I can rule Corey Davis out, so it's just a tough situation here.
I don't like Corey Davis. I think Ramsey's going to cover him 80% of the time. I don't like him there. And I don't think it's an Ingram game either this week. So I just don't like either of those guys. But you're right. In a standard scoring league, it makes it a little bit more attractive. But I still think I'm on Humphries for my opinion.
All right. Well, I got a couple more days to think about it. I'm torn. It's one of those things. I picked up Humphries today. And then I looked at it, and it's just, I've got Ingram in right now because I didn't have Humphries earlier, and it's probably between one of those two guys. So,
for sure. All right, Mark, how are all your seasonal leagues doing?
I am done.
That was mean. I'm sorry.
That's all right. My one team that was doing good, I missed the playoffs by 0.2 of a point.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Well, I'm feeling pretty confident. Probably 4 of these 6 teams are going to get through or 4 of the 5. One's on a bye, so that's good. I think 4 of the 5 are going to get through. I'm worried about one of them here, which I'm looking at now. I'm worried a little bit about Jared Goff at Chicago not putting up the points I need him to do. T.Y. Hilton's now come up in the injury report again, and he's at Houston. I like Michael Thomas a lot, obviously, going against New Orleans. I like DJ Moore. He's really kind of come on, but if Cam Newton's arm is any worse, I don't know what happens there. But then, I got Gronk, who's been a disappointment. Blunt, who knows. Right now I have to start Blunt and Riddick in a playoff team. That's never a good sign.
That's ugly.
Never a good sign. I could put Golden Tate in for one of them. I could. I guess I could put Traquan Smith in, but Traquan Smith, of the 5 weeks I've started him, he's gotten me 3 zeros.
Yeah, but he is playing the Tampa Bay secondary. So they're prone to those big plays a little bit differently. But I know that the line has moved because of weather concerns in that game as well. I would say Golden Tate over Blonde or over Riddick. I mean, he's seen the second most targets on that team since he's been there behind Zach Ertz. So great DFS play, good season-long play. I've been fading him on a couple of my teams, but he's in the lineup this week.
Yeah, I like Tate, and I'm probably leaning more towards Riddick than I am Blunt. I know Blunt gets the ball there, but Riddick is involved just kind of like a James White situation where he's always going to be there. So I don't know. It's such a tough call. I hate playing any Lions, as Mark knows, so it's very difficult for me to look at this, as I have actually Kerryon Johnson, Theo Riddick, and LeGarrette Blount on this team. And I had Golden Tate. Of course, he got traded. But I don't know what I was thinking this year with that team.
I have no idea.
But I'm in 4th place in the playoffs, so it's been working.
Well, that's all it takes.
Yeah. So let me ask you this thing, Chris. T.Y. Hilton, DJ Moore, Traquan Smith, Golden Tate. I could play 3 of them if I took one of my Lions out of the flex. Do you think I leave T.Y. in there? Because, obviously if he's gets through the week of practice okay.
I don't know. I mean, I think I probably lead towards Tate. I mean, like you said, Traquan's kind of really hit or miss. I mean, I think he has probably a higher ceiling than those other guys. Ty sure does too, but I mean, he is going to have to compete for targets with Eric Ebron, and Eric Ebron might get another 30 or 40 targets next week.
That's true. It's been crazy. Ty's had double-digit targets the last 3 weeks. Well, okay, he got 9 3 weeks ago. But Ebron's getting like 20 targets. I mean, these 2 guys are basically it for Andrew Luck right now.
Yeah, the only thing that I guess even makes me lean towards Tate a little bit more would be that he's playing Dallas and, played really well against Dallas when he was with the Lions. I think you can throw the second game that he's played. He's going to play Dallas 3 times. I didn't even really think about this. The second game, he just got put into and installed into that system, so I think you can kind of throw that away. I think last week is a better indication of how they're going to use him, and he's a much better. He's their best wide receiver. He's better than Alshon Jeffrey at this point in his career. He's better than Nelson Aguilar. How Jordan Matthews scored a touchdown was super tilting the other day. So I like Tate. I like him a lot.
Matthews has scored twice in the last 3 weeks for them, hasn't he?
I
think so.
Probably.
I think he scored in his first game back with them a couple weeks back. So DJ Moore. You keep DJ Moore in, or you like Tate more than DJ Moore?
It's tough, like you said, the Carolina situation with Cam's arm, but DJ Moore was out there for I think the entire game, pretty much like 66 out of 69 snaps or something along those.
I've been touting DJ Moore since about week 3 when I saw him have a really nice game. I don't know how much he actually caught, but he just looked so good out there. And then you went and looked at his schedule, and he had the cakest last 4 or 5 games. So I've been all over DJ Moore for the year. I've been touting him every week, and I feel bad putting him on the bench. But I'm really worried about Cam Newton. I mean, he looked like Matt Stafford out there, and that sucked. Every ball was falling short.
Yeah, I'm not a DJ Moore fan at all. I would go Tate and Ty over him.
So I'm looking at Thomas. I get 3 wide receivers and a flex. So I'm looking at Thomas, Hilton, Tate. And then my running backs right now are James White. Which one of these Lions guys do you like, Blunt or Riddick?
I would go Riddick if it's a PPR.
It is a PPR.
Yeah, I'd go Riddick.
I mean, I think the way that you have to look at it is going to be that, Riddick is going to be your more consistent back, but Blunt has the ability to have 5 rushes for 5 touchdowns, for 5 yards. So he has that ceiling, but, man, I wouldn't feel good about playing either of those guys.
No, not really. I mean, I have Kerryon Johnson. He still hasn't practiced this week, so I'm not hopeful he plays. And they're not really playing for anything, so I would hope they would continue to sit him out unless he's 100%.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised they didn't just IR him like they did Jones.
All right, so I leave Theo Riddick in there, and then you like Smith over Blunt or Smith over Moore for that flex spot?
Yeah, I do.
I like Smith over. I like everybody over Blunt. I think that he's a microcosm of what's wrong with the Lions organization, and if he's on the team next year, then they'll be bad again.
And here's a curveball for you. Let's say Melvin Gordon doesn't play. I've got Justin Jackson. Do you throw him in as a flyer against Cincinnati?
I don't think over any of those guys. I mean, how much run is he going to get?
He looked pretty darn good in the second half last week.
Oh, no, I'm not saying he didn't look good and that he's not going to get playing time, but how many snaps is he going to be out there? Maybe 20?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm saying if Gordon doesn't play.
I mean, what's the high-end situation for him is splitting with Eckler, right? So,
well, kind of. I mean, the way that second half run, I mean, he was kind of getting the Gordon touches, and Eckler was getting that complimentary look. But.
Well, what they had said is that Eckler, being a special team guy, did kind of wear down in the second half, so they were going to sprinkle in Jackson a little bit more. So that's my concern is if they don't, run Eckler as the primary back for the first half and they kind of split it, that's your best case scenario. But I would think that Eckler would still get a little bit more run. They're implied for 31 points against the Bengals, so there should be a lot for everybody to go around. I just don't know if I can justify him over like a Traquan Smith or something like that.
Ah, fantastic. Well, thanks for killing a half an hour with John's team. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate your help there, gentlemen. So let me see if I can let Mark take over here for a minute and get our guests lined up, and I'll join you back in just a minute or two.
Sure. So, Chris, do you play any NHL DFS?
I used to. The biggest problem I have with NHL DFS, though, is, I got the center ice package 2 years back, and you watch the game and you try and sweat it out, and I have no idea who half these guys are. Even when I know who the guys are, I don't know who they are on the ice, following all of the teams. So usually when I play, I make sure that Minnesota's playing for some reason, and I play Jason Zucker. For whatever reason, I just plug him into my lineup every single time and just build around that. I've had a couple nice showings in NHL DFS, but I haven't played any recently.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am with the NBA. I have no idea who any of these players really are, outside LeBron. So
yeah, but at least they're not changing every minute. It's like, you see a goal, you're like, yeah, that's the team that I want. Yeah, who is that guy right there? Is he? No, he's not on my team. Okay, well, was there an assist from a guy on the line? I had a nice run at one point where it seemed like I picked the right games and just picked the wrong lines every single time.
Yeah, that's the tough one. Like right now, it's killing me. So, Toronto is supposed to destroy the Red Wings tonight. The Red Wings are up 3-1 right now in the first period. It's just killing me. And the one Toronto goal was nobody I played. So.
What kind of? I mean, what do you look for? What are your stat lines? I mean, are you looking at Corsi? Are you looking at shots on goal, blocks? Like, what are your indicators that you're looking to build your teams with?
Yeah, I mostly look at Corsi and the defensive stats, like goals given up by the defense and just general shots on goal. that's where the Corsi comes in nice because it adds in the actual shots even if they're not on goal. So it's a really good stat to determine the offensive side of things. And I like some of these newer stats like the PODs and stuff that are coming out now that add a little more complexity to the defense and to the goalies.
Yeah, I mean, I used to look at like 5-on-5 and then just, goals against position and things like that. You can find them at Grinders, a couple other places just to try and get one-offs. But yeah, I haven't done it that much recently. But yeah,
and
it seemed like it.
I say Vegas is catching up too, so it's a lot of stuff can be mapped out just by watching the Vegas odds, the over-unders, and some of the parlays against these games. Like tonight, I'm playing Pittsburgh's second line, and that's because of the parlays have the second line scoring more than the Crosby line. And a lot of that's because top lines playing each other, they'll shut each other down kind of thing. But I've noticed with all the new parlays coming out, because sports betting is getting so big, a lot of that's very useful in hockey.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I'll have to look into that. Like I said, it's one of those things that I found that you can either really only play NHL or NBA. If you're playing both of them, you're putting there's a lot of time that's dedicated for both of those, and they lock around the same time, so it can be challenging.
Yeah, and that's as soon as I was eliminated from season-long NBA, I started doing NHL lineups, which I showed you last night. My first big slate, I actually won some money. It was pretty nice.
Yeah, for sure. I one of the things that I liked about NHL too is that if you can get into some of those like later slates or the turbos or things like that, where you're only picking a couple teams, I find it just a little bit easier to follow and manage if you're getting into it. And that same thing, I guess, could be said about the NBA, is getting your feet wet in a slate where there's 10, 11, 12 teams playing just can be overwhelming with the amount of guys and options and things that you have to look at. For people that are getting into a sport maybe that they haven't played before, some of these 3 to 5 game slates are probably ideal.
Yeah, I agree. Tonight's a big 11-game slate in the NHL, and it was actually very hard to put in lineups. I didn't even get a chance to make as many as I wanted. Where last night was only a 3-game slate, and it was actually easier to set a cash lineup that would work. A little harder on the GPP side, though.
Well, I mean, right now there's a 2-game slate that starts at 9. It looks like Minnesota is playing. Looks like Jason Zucker is playing. He's 5,400 on DraftKings. Maybe I'll have to get in on that.
Yeah, throw one in.
Calling it 2 goals tonight.
I think they're doing showdowns in hockey now too.
Hello.
Well, hey, we got Jeff Sanchez on the line here, and sorry to interrupt, gentlemen, but we are a half beer show, so we should talk a little beer.
Hey, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of things going on here. We actually have 2 guests on at the same time here. So we have Jeff Sanchez of Sellerman's Meadery, Winery, Brewery, all the above, right?
That's right.
That's right. We also have my friend Samantha, who is the sales manager for Brooks Brewing.
Hi.
She's with us as well.
Hey, Sam, what's up?
Oh, I'm just driving in the dark.
Sweet.
Ah, good. Driving and broadcasting. We recommend all of these things.
It's live, hands-free, I swear.
I love it. So, we as a brewing community, we do a lot of cool things, and besides just drinking for a living and hanging out at parties, we all try to get together, and we like to do as much charity work as we can when we get out there. So I know that we have a big thing that the beer reps and beer managers and ciders and wines and all the guys around and gals around town. But Jeff has something they're doing as well up at Sellerman's. It's not part of that. So we'll let Jeff talk about what's coming up with Sellerman's right now.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. We try and do our best for the community. We're in Hazel Park, Michigan. It's a really tiny town. It's definitely a town that is needing some nourishment and has a lot of nourishment. It's adjacent to Ferndale, which is a really really big town, a lot of great restaurants and whatnot. So we do our Krampus event every, let's say, pre-Christmas. This is our third annual. And the most important part about that is that we have a box set up, and it's already half full actually right now. And it's sponsored by the Hazel Park Holiday Basket Committee. And basically what happens is scarves and hats and gloves and mittens and toys and things that would appeal to children that really don't have access to a lot of this stuff. We make sure that we give back to these people and make sure that they have access to this type of stuff. In addition to that, we are doing a special release this year. Ironically enough, we were invited to a competition that was called FOBAB. It's held annually in Chicago every year. I believe Witch's Hat was part of that 1 year at least. And definitely this year.
That was like 3 weeks ago, bro. You don't remember me being there or what?
Dude, the road is hard. I think I'm proud to announce that after a combined almost 30 years of winemaking for the three owners of Cellarman's, we were the first and only to date recognized meadery, and we also took a gold medal for a product that we made that's called Krampus, not to be confused with Krampus. It's Crampus. This is a 6% dry sparkling mead with allspice and fresh orange zest, and then we took that product and aged it in a Valentine Liberator gin barrel for 12 months. We actually got the gold medal for that, so we'll be canning that off and releasing that as well. But we've got food from Doug's Delight, a great hot dog ice cream joint down the street in Hazel Park here. We'll have some sideshow performances from Ipsy Pinwheel. We have a Krampus character that runs around and engages with all the people here. We have a sort of a host, this guy we call the Nonsense Man, Zach Winchester Phillips, and he comes in, and it's just a lot of fun, and we're really excited to do it for the third year now.
No Misfits covers band?
Not this year. I'm pretty sure that I was voted off the island. The Misfits are not a well-liked act around the house here. It's more stoner rock, doom metal, sludge metal, stuff like that. So Misfits are kind of banned. But they do let me do my band practices here, which is great.
That is fantastic. Well, we appreciate your time, Jeff, and thanks for coming on, and we'll spread the word, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks, Sam. Nice to hear from you, and we'll
you as well.
All right, see you guys.
See you, Jeff. Sounds like he's having the fun Michigan practice of scraping off his windshields.
Yes, it's so cold.
That's so much fun. So Sam joins me from Brooks. So Sam got involved here with something that the beer reps all got together to do, and we call it Breweries Against Frostbite. And these are events that go to help the homeless. And I am always shocked how many homeless people brave the weather of Michigan. And frankly, I mean, they're homeless because they have nowhere else to go. So,
I know.
And we keep ourselves very warm with beer, and we thought that we would take that and put it to some good use. So last year we had several events. I myself threw one that will be doing the same event again at the Grotto in Ann Arbor, which is a combination birthday party for myself. And,
happy birthday.
Well, thank you. And then it is my number one account in the state, so we do a big blowout and do like 15 taps and bring out all the good stuff. And we charge a $5 cover or a donation of warm goods to be given to the local shelter in Washtenaw County. And last year we raised, it was about $600 cash and 5 boxes of clothing.
Whoa, nice.
So it was a good day. So I will be doing that again January 15th. And I know that you up at Brooks and some of the great people out there that we work with on a regular are beating the streets and putting together some awesome events. So tell me about yours.
So our Breweries Against Frostbite event is going to be a collaboration with a bunch of other local breweries, and it's going to be January 10th
My actual
Club-
birthday.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, you got to come out to that, too. And that's at Clubhouse BFD in Rochester. And all the details are still being worked out for that one. So I'm not exactly sure all of the breweries that will be a part of it and time or whatnot. So keep on Facebook and everything for that. And we'll promote it as it comes up.
Mhm.
But we were involved with it last year. Actually, I was one of the ones who reached out to Clubhouse BFD to do this because a bunch of us reps were just chatting on our web pages and just saying that we needed to do some events that were actually a good cause as well, not just promotional type things. So it's really great. We had just tons of donations, and it's very helpful when people think of the little things like gloves and socks, things that don't get thought of as much as coats and hats and stuff.
Absolutely. Talking to the shelters last year, they made it very clear that socks and underwear were the most in-demand thing, that people are very generous with pants and snow pants and hats and jackets, but nobody thinks about the undergarments.
Exactly. And those are the things that get frostbite the quickest, our extremities. And up until then and all winter long, we're going to be collecting such things at our brewery in Shelby Township. We're on Van Dyke at 23.5 Mile. And if you donate on a Thursday afternoon, you'll get a $2 beer on us. And we're also collecting cans of food for Gleaners. And every 2 cans you bring in, you get $1 off your bill. So that's all winter long.
Fantastic.
And we have our ugly sweater party coming up next Saturday, so that would be a good time to bring in a bunch of cans and wear an ugly sweater, and you get $1 off your beer all night anyway if you're wearing an ugly sweater.
I like it. So I have 2 questions for you.
Yes.
One, is Mr. Brooks growing his beard back?
I don't think that will happen.
It kind of freaked me out, I'm not gonna lie.
when he cut it off.
Yeah, you guys. I don't know, where did I see you guys? Was it Beer Fest? I don't remember. I saw you guys, and I was like, where'd your man go? And you're like, right next to me, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, he looks totally different. It's crazy. And he always wears just a Brooks hoodie, zip-up hoodie as his shirt, which nobody ever noticed before because his beard used to cover it. But now everybody calls him the no-shirt guy because he's just wearing a hoodie all the time.
That's funny. And then question number 2, you said you didn't play fantasy football this year. Is it because you were so demoralized by the 16-team beer rep league last year?
Yeah, it was just too much. There were so many times that I forgot to set up my lineup. I just got crushed even when I did try. And when at Brooks, we hardly have games on. We do have a few TVs to take some special requests, but people kind of have to fight over different games. So I'm not around the games as often as I was last year.
I will freely admit I do believe I took last place last year.
Really? I thought that was me.
I don't know. I'd have to look back up again.
We can fight over that, but somebody got a lot of beer from us all.
Well, I typically like that 12-team range, 14-team maybe, but there were so many people wanting to play. We did 16, and that was intense. I've never played in the league with that many teams and having such scrubs.
Yeah, my draft was a joke. I just did auto draft, and I was watching it as it happened, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. But the pick I had and how many people were in the league didn't leave you with much.
No, not really. Well, thanks for coming on and talking about breweries against frostbite. It's a cause that's near to my heart, and I really enjoy it. And the events are going to start popping up. The Facebook page is not ready yet because I'm a slacker. So we'll get that done this weekend and get all the lovely events coming up after the new year out there, and everybody will be able to know. So if you're up in the northeastern corner of Detroit, please check out Brooks Brewing Company. They make great beer and they have wonderful people.
Yeah, we have Ferndale coming in the spring too. We're opening a second location right on Woodward.
See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's we just got our sign up and the painting's getting done, and we have the same street artist who did the mural in our Shelby Township location. He did it in Ferndale as well, and it looks awesome, and it's just coming along, and we're really excited about it. And thanks for having us on. This is a great way to tell people about these events, and we're gonna fight frostbite together.
We appreciate you, and we're going to do another league next year for the beer guys, and we'll make sure we get a team Brooks in there, and you guys can feel the team all together and work together on it. All right.
There you go. Make it a team effort.
All right, Samantha, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Cheers.
Bye.
All right, so that was Samantha from Brooks Brewing. And,
absolutely. Wonderful lady. Have you met her, Mark?
Oh, yeah, several times.
Yeah, I thought so. That's up in your neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see her and Carrie all the time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I live in the same town, so.
Right? Oh, nice. Yeah, they're such nice people. We took a trip up there for one of our employee outings. We took a party bus up and went up to Coonan and went up to Brooks and went up to all those places up there.
Yeah,
it was a good time.
It's wonderful out here.
Yeah. Well, besides the fact that you live out there, everything else is nice.
This is true.
Yeah, true story. So, all right. Well, we got beer out of the way.
We did. Do you wanna roll into the week preview? You need a break? How you feeling?
No, I'm feeling great. Shout out to Eric if he's still in the audience out there. I know that Lenny had told us he's a beer guy too, and it sounds like he had the idea to do this same kind of show. And please don't let that stop you from doing that, Eric. I mean, join us anytime. You can jump on the Skype with us. You can hang out with us anytime you like. I would love to talk beer with you. But, I mean, there's 15 million fantasy football shows. There can be 2 fantasy football and beer shows.
Absolutely. The more the merrier.
Absolutely. So I hope that when we get in the swing of this, that we're doing more than just one day a week, and we're popping on for shorter shows throughout the week. And I'd love to have, some time with Eric and talk more beer and football.
Absolutely. And eventually we need to start going back to our geekdom, start throwing the sci-fi fantasy back in.
Oh, heck yeah. We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. When football season runs out and we run out of things to talk about for hockey, then we'll have to talk. We'll talk about sci-fi and geek shows. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
You still have to play that game where I have to pick whether it's a hockey name or what was the other option?
Oh, I think it was. Wasn't it Star Wars or hockey, something like that?
Yeah, Star Wars character or hockey.
Yeah,
hockey name. Or can John pronounce this hockey player's name? That's always fun.
Yeah, no, those are fun because it's. I swear Star Wars characters are all Scandinavian names.
Right, it's quite possible. So Cha says here, Eric is also a whiz at talking about farm animals. I was like, well, you're in luck. Mark's a farmer as well.
Yeah, that's true. I have 4 horses, a donkey, 9 goats. I got dozens of chickens. We can talk farm animals.
I like it. Eric, you were gone. We were just saying how you had mentioned up there you had the idea to do a beer and fantasy show, and it's such a good idea. We've been doing it 2 years, and please continue on is what we were saying. There's 50 million shows about fantasy football. There definitely can be 2 about fantasy sports and beer. And regardless of that, we all need to get together and do one of these shows sometime. And if you feel like calling in on Skype, we'll add you in anytime you like. So that's all you missed. That's what we were saying.
Absolutely.
And anybody who's listening to the podcast, after we're done being live tonight, we are at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. This broadcast live from 7 to 9 on Thursdays. There's a chat room you can get involved in. We have what I like to call the IamABeerHound.com guest line that you're welcome to join in on if you have Skype and all that. Yeah.
All right. Now for the big stuff. Chris, you still on the line?
I sure am.
All right. Let's get into week 14. How do you want to do it? Do you guys want to do position by position? You want to do game by game? What are we feeling like tonight?
Chris, you're the new guy. It's your call.
Let's go position by position. There's a lot of games, and I think some of them don't have a tremendous amount of value, so we can go position by position.
All right. I know you play on both, but we try to keep it to one to keep it simple. So we usually prefer main slate on DraftKings, if that's okay with you.
Yep, that's what I prepared for.
Fantastic. So kick us off, Mark.
All right, let's head down quarterbacks. Now, for me at least this week, I think there's a lot of value quarterbacks kind of in that middle range that we can play and pay up at running back or wide receiver. Let me pull up DraftKings here really quick. Right now, I am going to lean towards... Well, Cam. I was leaning towards Cam, but his noodle arm. I like Breeze on the high end. I really like Rivers going to the 6,000 range, but we can come back down. How do you guys feel about Aaron Rodgers with a new coach at Atlanta, who's giving up a ton of points to quarterbacks?
I'm all over Aaron Rodgers this week. I think he's going to come out with absolute passion to kick some ass because he's taken a lot of flack for, McCarthy's gone because Aaron Rodgers was done with him. And I think he wants to make a statement. He's at home. He's playing Atlanta. They have a trash defense. I'm big on Rodgers this week.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Again, my thoughts on the quarterback position on DK is just you can really pick any of these guys. Phillip Rivers, Patrick Mahomes is going against a tough Baltimore defense, but I think that makes him even more attractive, being the most expensive quarterback going against a tough matchup. 85% of people still didn't play him last week. So don't let anybody tell you that there's not an edge. Patrick Mahomes is still a great play. At 7,000 going against one of the toughest pass defenses out there. That being said, I like Rivers. I like Jameis Winston. This is, New Orleans. This is the famous game where he, told everybody eat W and then showed them. So I think there's some options there.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I have been on Mahomes all week. I know everybody hates it because he's at Baltimore, but you're absolutely right. In the big matches last week, he was only 15 to 18% owned, and it's going to be even lower this week than playing Baltimore, but it's only $7,000. DK pricing on the quarterbacks is so soft that there really hasn't been any reason not to play him every single week.
Yeah, and until he proves us wrong, I mean, he's matchup proof. He hasn't had that down game. Last week was probably his down game, and he put up 20-some points. So he's getting value even on his down weeks. So I like him a lot. I'll probably play him in cash lineups for sure, and I'll throw at least one GPP in with him.
Yeah, I like him a lot, and I'm with you on Rivers as well. I think especially if Gordon doesn't play, that he's going to light it up. Those probably are my three favorite people. I like Mahomes, I like Rivers, I like Rodgers. Roethlisberger's okay. He's still suffering a little bit lacking on the road. I don't like when he has to go out west. I know that it's a 32-ranked defense, but I don't know. I'm just kind of off him. Maybe it's just a gut feeling. I don't have anything that says otherwise, but I'm not a big fan.
No, I'm not a big fan of him either. I like Jameis at against New Orleans. What about some of these lower guys? Can you believe Tom Brady's at 5,800? Jared Goff's at 5,800. Baker Mayfield at 5,800. I mean, those are some good value plays right in there.
I think in that same realm too, Deshaun Watson. Again, if you're like me and you don't think Lamar Miller is really going to produce and they're going to have to pass the ball because that is the weakness of the Indianapolis defense, I think he's in line to have a very, very good game.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you guys feeling about Lamar Jackson this week against Kansas City?
I mean, Lamar Jackson just keeps getting the job done. I mean, he's doing it with his legs. That's valuable in these formats. So I don't have a problem with him at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on Lamar Jackson.
Well, I just think that they're going to be pushed offensively more than they've had since he's taken over, and Kansas City is not that good on defense. They've been a little bit better as of late, but it's going to put him to the test of whether he can do anything besides run with his legs, and I think if he's going to put up some big points, this is a week that he could do it. But in that same price range, I do like Baker Mayfield better down in that range. I even like Mitch Trubisky going against the Rams. I think this is another possibility of a trap game like we had last week with New Orleans, where the Rams just come out flat.
I like Trubisky a lot.
I think the Rams already came out flat. I mean, Goff looked like he was drunk playing the Lions, but of course he was playing the Lions, so it was okay.
Here's the thing, too, going back to Lamar Jackson, and I don't like Goff at all this week. I like Gurley a lot more. Some of these quarterbacks, as there's more tape on them, they start to, fall off. They have a good couple of games. Yeah, Lamar Jackson is a threat to run the ball, and I think that, that adds a dynamic to a passer. But let's be real, he's not a passer. He's just a guy that can run and throw it. I think Mohamed Sanu is a better passer than Lamar Jackson, full disclosure. So I think as teams get more tape on him, just like happened with Mullins, just like happened with Beathard, just like happens with almost every single rookie quarterback, they become less and less effective. And I think this is going to be one of the weeks where he kind of really hits the wall. Kansas City has been bad. They haven't been as bad against the run. And while they're going to put up a lot of points, it's just one of those situations. I just don't like Lamar Jackson when you have some of those guys in those similar positions, similarly priced, like a Baker Mayfield, like a Deshaun Watson. I'd go to Josh Allen or Dak Prescott over Lamar Jackson personally.
Yeah, speaking of Josh Allen, I don't mind him if you need that savings this week. The Jets can be beat, obviously. He's been playing all right. Zay Jones has been playing good. He's okay, but Carson Wentz is $100 cheaper than that.
Yeah, Dallas has had. Dallas's defense is legit though, so I worry about that. But yeah, I think Wentz looked a lot better last week or a couple days ago, so I have a little bit more confidence in him. But I don't know. Josh Allen doesn't have Kelvin Benjamin anymore to drop, passes or not hustle to get to the ball. So I think that opens up some targets for guys that can catch, which is obviously a big problem for Buffalo, as they should have won that last game if it wasn't for a miscatch.
If you really want to get cheap, I'm not even afraid of Case Keenum against San Francisco. So there's just a lot of plays this week, and it's really fill out the rest of your lineup. Figure out what you got left to play with and go from there.
So, you want me to give you my tipsy pick now or wait till later?
Josh Rosen?
Yes. Josh Rosen's throwing 3 touchdowns against the Lions.
It's never a bad bet to bet against the Lions. That's my personal philosophy.
I will have an Arizona stack.
I don't
play
doubt that.
Everything you can against the Lions.
I don't doubt that at all, my man.
All right. Anybody else you like on the low end here? How about Case Keenum against your 49ers?
Well, that's what I just said. I kind of like Keenum. I kind of like him. I don't, you like to play against the Lions. I like to play against my 49ers.
Yeah, it sounds like a plan. All right.
I just think it's getting a little too cute when you get that low. I honestly, most of my lineups would have Rivers or Mahomes. Those would be the two guys that I kind of centralize around. Again, you don't have to get too cute with this many games to worry about ownership. It's just putting the best guys out there, and some of these quarterbacks we talked about, they're just really not very good.
Yeah. No, they're not. And the more point to that, Chris, that I was trying to make was the pricing on quarterbacks and DraftKings. I think it's going to change completely next year. I think they got to up it up because it's too soft. You can build a lineup of whoever you want and just go up there and pick one of these guys. And the price points they're putting out there, there's 10 valuable guys every week.
I agree.
All right, so let's move on to running backs. Top of the list for me is McCaffrey, especially with Newton's noodle arm going. I really like him. Cleveland's got a run funnel going on right now. And Cam's going to be able to throw it short. Barkley's always a good play. Gurley's plug and play. I'm not worried about the Chicago defense whatsoever. I think Zeke is in the discussion as the top running back this week. What do you think, Chris?
I like what you guys, or what you said there. You know, I like McCaffrey for a lot of the reasons that we've talked about all show. That he's going to help alleviate any of the stress that's put on Cam's arm. You know, he'll get the ball in short space and be able to take advantage of a Cleveland team that really in the center of that defense is where they've been taking advantage of all year. I think that it would come as no surprise to anybody that I'm going to ride Aaron Jones here. I think he's hit another fantastic matchup. Hopefully he gets some passes to complement some of his runs. And at 7,200, I think he's right there with Nick Chubb. And I don't even think you necessarily need to go to some of those higher end guys. The other guy that I think is going to be pretty highly owned, or should be, and maybe he won't be, is Philip Lindsay. At 6,300 against San Francisco, no Reuben Foster. You know, Reuben Foster might have seen Philip Lindsay, seen the name Lindsay, and you know, taken advantage of that and tried to hit him. But he's not there in the center of that defense. So I really like Lindsay. I'm glad you laughed at that because I put that together. Just I wasn't sure how it'd go over, and I thought the execution was pretty poor, but you know, the thought was there. The other guy right there too, though, is Joe Mixon. So Joe Mixon, Philip Lindsay, I like them on a little bit of the cheaper end.
Yeah, for me, I like McCaffrey a lot. I think I'm going to try to squeeze him into my cash game because I think Cam Newton's arm is trash, and I think McCaffrey's going to have to try to carry the load for them. He's kind of my guy at the top range there. But, like you said, there's a lot of great guys falling underneath there. So I don't blame you if you don't put him in there. 9,300 is expensive, and it's that way for a reason. He's going to get the ball. I am a Kamara fan. I think that New Orleans is going to have to keep pace with Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay is going to sling it like they normally do. So I like Kamara way more than Ingram this week. Nick Chubb, I've gotten every single season in the league. So I'm a big fan, and I like him again this week. And I do like James White to keep up his pace that he's been on. So those are kind of my guys from the mid to high range I like.
Yeah, right now Philip Lindsay is projected to be about a 15% ownership. Can you guess who's going to be number one?
It's McCaffrey.
It's going to be Samuels right now is at 35%.
Yeah, 3,700, I can see that. I just like the reasons I gave before. He's not done it. We've never seen it. They've got a veteran guy back there that's going to be in the pass pro. I just don't see it. So I'm going to let everybody else take a shot at him.
And we've seen it too many times in the past. I mean, we don't have to look very far back. We can look at it, you know, where really, I mean, he hit his value, but he didn't light the world on fire. And yeah, he allowed you to open up your lineup and get some other guys. But I think there are places that you can find value. If Ware doesn't score that one touchdown, he busts. Carlos Hyde bust. I was extremely upset that we had Ware open up because I think there would have been huge ownership on Hyde, and I had no interest in Hyde. I thought Yeldon was always going to be the better play, but they both ended up being bad. I think it was 2 years ago, everybody in the Broncos backfield got hurt, and we got $3,500 or $3,000 Devontae Booker, and he failed at 70% ownership. Again, it comes down to when you look at your lineup, is this guy good at football? Is he a good player? I just think there are better places to go for if you really need to go down and get some value. I mean, Gus Edwards is at, 4,500? Where is he?
Yeah, 4,500. That's the guy I was actually just looking at as we were starting to talk about value plays. And not to interrupt you, but I mean, I'm just flipping through here trying to get that, and Dalvin Cook's under 6,000.
Yeah, and I mean, so there are places that you can go. I can't see myself clicking on Samuels.
No,
I'm not going to do it.
No, my value running back is Gus Edwards. I mean, he's going against the worst rushing defense in the league. 4,500. I'll probably throw him into my flex so I can play McCaffrey up in the running back. Yeah, he's my value play.
Yeah, if you want to play somebody down at that 37 range where Samuels is, I mean, I tell you to take a look at Jeff Wilson Jr., the guy that's going to get the start in San Francisco for 38.
Yeah, he's going to get a lot more work in than Samuels, I think.
And let's be real about it. It's a lot more fun to say Gus the Bus than anything else.
True story. True story, my friend. All right, well, let's. You got any other gems down in the lower end for you there, Chris? Because I think we've covered it pretty well, and I do like Dalvin Cook. I know they're playing Seattle, but I dig that lineup. Wait a minute, that's Monday night. We can't have that. How did I get in the Monday night matchup?
You selected the wrong matchup,
I know.
my friend.
I gotta go back and look at this all over again. I've ruined everything.
You're not gonna play Alfred Blue?
No. Certainly not. But yeah, no. I mean, if you're gonna play a low end guy, I like Wilson.
Fair enough. I think there's enough value at wide receiver, which we're about to get into, that you don't have to play some of those guys.
Yeah, so with that, let's roll over to the receivers. You have your usual high-end guys. You got Brown going against Oakland. You have Thomas going against Tampa. Devontae Adams going against Atlanta. And you have Odell going against Washington. So these are all teams that give up lots of yardage. Are any of them of interest, or are we going right down to value?
I think we can go down a little bit more. I don't think we have to take any of those wide receivers, given what we have a little bit lower and even a lot lower.
Okay, so let's Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods. Where do you want to start out at, Chris?
I think that the highest price guy that I'm interested in is going to be Mike Evans and Keenan Allen. Actually, DeAndre Hopkins. That's where I'm going to start. DeAndre Hopkins has a great matchup against Indianapolis. He did a fantastic job the last time they played, so I think he's in play. But I think Keenan Allen has been on fire. Cincinnati can't stop anybody. Melvin Gordon doesn't play, and I don't think that he will. I think the number one red zone option is going to be Keenan Allen, and we saw that, since he threw a fit a couple weeks ago, he has just gobbled up that market share and is just a weapon to be reckoned with.
I can't believe DraftKings has him still at 7,400.
I mean, this happened last year too. It was around the same time. This is like circa 2015 Doug Baldwin second half of the year. I think maybe this is just Keenan Allen's thing right now, where he just kind of blows up in the second half of the year. They don't throw it to him for the first half. He whines about it, rightfully so, and then he gets fed extra targets. And with Melvin Gordon out there to score every touchdown, which just watching the guy run, I don't understand how he does it sometimes, but he's not there, so we don't need to talk about him. I think Keenan Allen is a fantastic play against just a Cincinnati team with a lame duck coach. You've got Hugh Jackson over there too. Like, that whole organization right now, there's nothing good going on that sideline.
No, I couldn't believe Hugh came back this year, or they let him back. That's just crazy.
Well, I will say here, if I'm going to play one of the high-end guys, I think Michael Thomas continues to dominate with Tampa Bay. I think he's had a couple of bad weeks, and he's ready to just tear it up. But looking at those guys in the middle, like we said, there might not be a reason to go up high. I do absolutely agree on Keenan Allen. He was already in my lineup as we were talking before we even said his name. He's my first guy added in. I do like Mike Evans again as well. And then Amari Cooper, man, I mean, the kid's been playing well since he's got a little change of scenery, and I like him again at Philly.
And then even going lower, I mean, look at this. Let's put our eyes down under 5,000. You've got Adam Humphries, Chris Godwin, Larry Fitzgerald with no Christian Kirk on the other side, Golden Tate. And then, look, I know that we've been ragging on Cam's arm, but Devin Funchess with Greg Olsen out of the lineup averages 575 and a touchdown. Look at the games. They're literally, he will go for 575, and then every other game without Greg Olsen, he'll score a touchdown. So those are all guys right there in that $5,000 range. We can take Funchess out of it, but those other four guys are fantastic options. I love Thomas, and I love going Thomas, high-end running backs, and then sprinkling in a couple of these wide receivers here.
I even like guys a couple below that. You got Cortland Sutton at 45. You've got Dante Pettis, who's been on fire at 44. Mohamed Sanu, who may just throw another touchdown. You never know, at 43.
Yeah, and I'm not playing Cortland Sutton, so he will score a touchdown because literally every single time this year that I have not had him in at least one lineup, and I usually play 3, and maybe I'll play 3 in the early and 3 in the afternoon. So it's usually like 9 or so. If I don't have any exposure to him, those are the weeks that he scored touchdowns every single time without fail. I will not be playing him this week, so have at it.
I have a question for you here as I'm looking down here. My buddy's in the playoffs. We were chatting all day, and he is in love with Zay Jones this week. So what do you think of Zay Jones?
I like Zay Jones at 4,200. I don't know if I like him in a season-long league.
So if you had a season-long league and you were trying to play either Zay Jones or Dante Pettis or Calvin Ridley, that was his 3 choices.
Ugh.
I mean, this is for his wide receiver 3 spot.
I'd probably go Pettis.
Yeah, get out of those 24-team leagues, man.
Right? His reasoning is Jones. They've gotten rid of what's his name, Benjamin. But I said that might actually hurt him because he'll get a little bit more attention. But they played the Jets just 4 weeks ago. He went 8 for 93 and a touch. And 11 targets. So he makes some solid points. But,
yeah, I don't hate him. I mean, you could really flip a coin and make that decision there.
That's exactly what I told him. Flip a coin between those guys.
I'm going to go really, really cheap here, and I'm going to go on a guy. I'm going to stay on brand here. Michael Gallup is 3,700. There have been 2 situations the past 2 weeks that if he had a competent quarterback that could throw the ball properly, he would have had long touchdowns in both of those situations.
You're going to make Cha-Cha sad.
Happen.
He just said in the chat room that he was shocked that Dak got some respect when you mentioned him for the quarterback spot, and now you just called him incompetent. So now we're going to make Cha-Cha cry a little bit, I think.
Look, the guy, I still can't get over on Thanksgiving, where he just underthrew what would have been a 90-yard touchdown to Gallup, which would have, probably retired me, to be quite honest. And, so I can't get past that.
That hurts. It hurts sometimes. It hurts so good. I can get behind Gallup. That's a really good tipsy pick of the week as well,
The tipsy pick. All right.
Are you prepared this week, Mark? You let me down last week. You didn't even give me one.
Yeah, I already gave it to you. You gonna let me take Rosen?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll let you take a Rosen.
All right. Okay. Well, why don't we roll into... You want to go tight end or defense?
Let's go tight end. We just keep rolling down the list.
All right, so you have your obvious top-end guys, Kelsey, Ertz, and Ebron in Little. So beyond that, is there anything, or do you go for one of these big guys? Danger?
Well, let's see. I have a hard time getting away from Kelsey, especially with so much value out there. He's just on absolute laser point focus from his quarterback, and I just don't know if I can get away from him. 67 is a lot to pay, but I think there's so much value elsewhere. It's hard not to just go ahead and throw Kelsey in there. And obviously, Ebron's got 215 touchdowns so far this year, so you can't help but take a look at him as well. You got to watch the practice report, make sure that he's healthy enough. But I think Kelsey's my guy this week.
To point out, Eric Ebron may have that 215 touchdowns, but it is off of 20,000 red zone targets. Just so, friend of the podcast, Tony Cafeo, doesn't get too upset that he's not part of the Lions organization anymore. He's still not a good football player.
This is very true. But he is being a great fantasy player.
Basically, so, the Lions have had nobody, talent-wise for a long time except for their wide receivers. I think the mistake that they made with Eric Ebron is They needed to get rid of their wide receivers, and that's essentially the mistake that they made with this guy. Is you can't have a Marvin Jones or some high quality talent like a TJ Jones even there. So you got to have like a Chester's Rogers and a Dontrell Inman, so he can kind of flourish. He needs to be the alpha dog in that locker room, and I don't think the Lions ever allowed him to do that because they had guys that were bigger than him.
That's true. I don't know. I mean, the tight end for me, it's just Kelsey. I keep looking down and I keep trying to find value, and it's there. There's guys. I like Austin Hooper to continue his very solid year that I predicted in our preseason show. I like Cameron Brate, obviously, when there's no OJ. I do like is it Ian Thomas way down there at the bottom now that Olsen's out, if you really want to get cheap. But I don't think we need to get cheap, and I think this is a week you can just plug Kelsey in.
Yeah, no, hey, I've been high in tight end all year. I think you can go Kelsey. I think you can go Ertz. I think you can go Ebron. I think you can go Cook. I think any of those guys, you can't really go wrong with them. In terms of guys that are a little bit on the lower end, if you are going to go down there, I think somebody like Ben Watson is somebody that is worth taking a GPP flyer. Vance McDonald against Oakland, I think, is a fantastic play at 3,800. Again, not somebody I'd put in a cash lineup, but somebody that if I was making, 5 or 6 lineups, you'd probably find his way into 1 or 2 of them. And then the other one is the guy that, just failed everybody last week, so they're not going to go to him. But he's only 2,700. Matt LaCosta doing business.
Yeah, that was one of those guys where I had everybody hit value or above, and he was one of my absolute duds. So I don't know, man. He got me right in the dagger there. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, but I mean, how much does he really hurt you at 2,700?
Well, when you miss all your cash lines by 1.7 points.
Who are they going to throw it to now? I mean, he's one of those guys. So, when we talk about guys that benefit from other guys going out, I think the Emmanuel Sanders injury helps Lindsey. I don't think it's really a huge help for Sutton because it doesn't change his role much, and I don't think that it's going to change the way that the coverage is there as much as it would for somebody like Tyler Boyd earlier in the year without A.J. Green and without John Ross. But I think LaCoste is going to have a couple extra targets that have to come towards him. Like, who else are they going to go to? Tim Patrick, Deshaun Hamilton. These guys just haven't got a lot of run, so I can't imagine Case Keenum is going to look their way as frequently as somebody like Matt LaCoste. Again, he scores 1 touchdown, he's basically at value. So that's a guy that if you're going to go down real low, that's probably the cheapest tight end that I would go.
Yeah, I think I'm going to avoid all the speculation and just put Kelsey in.
And that's how you make all the money.
So, Danger likes things simple. He doesn't want decisions.
I really hate making choices. It's not my favorite thing.
No, and that's the right way to go. I mean, last week it was a no-brainer for me. It's Mahomes and it was Kelsey, except for in the one lineup that I had Terry Cohen, and that cost me. I think I had Matt LaCoste, as a matter of fact.
Matt LaCrosse cost you. All right. Any other tight ends that you guys like?
Nah, I'm out. Kelsey. That's it. All right, Chris, this is where I need your help, buddy. I need your defensive prowess. I can't pick it right to save my life. I think I've picked 1 week when Indianapolis kicked some ass, and I have missed every single other opportunity.
Yeah, let's take a look here.
I'll tell you, my first gut is the Patriots, and my first gut is probably wrong.
So typically, there's a couple rules that I play by when I go with defenses. The first rule is, are the Chicago Bears playing? And if they are, pick them. So we don't have the Chicago Bears playing on the main slate, so that's crossed off. The next line is, are the Buffalo Bills playing? If yes, are they on the road? If no, proceed. So now we're in a situation where we kind of got to figure out, what's going on. the Chargers, Denver. But here's the real pick. The Giants. It's got to be the Giants, right? They're playing Mark Sanchez. They were fantastic last week. They're playing Mark Sanchez. And then let me give you this other stat about the Giants defense. They're playing Mark Sanchez.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I mean, I didn't think about the fact that they were playing Mark Sanchez.
Well, it's easy to overlook, and I can. One of the most frustrating things about Monday night was that Adrian Peterson was owned 40% in some of the Monday through Thursday tournaments on FanDuel, and these guys, this 40% of people that played him got paid out because of that one run. And then I think he got 5 yards the rest of the game.
Right.
I was not one of those 40%, as you can tell. But they don't have a lot of weapons. I mean, Doxson's a great wide receiver 3, but they're using him as a 1. Crowder's back, but he's got Mark Sanchez throwing it to him. Jordan Reed has perpetual concussion and some type of injury. And Adrian Peterson is good in certain situations. This isn't going to be one of them. So, while they may not be the defense that scores a touchdown, and they may, I mean, he may fumble it, he may intercept or throw an interception. I mean, in fact, I think those are givens. They may get ran back for a touchdown. They may not. But I don't see them scoring a lot of points. I think right now they're the lowest on the slate, implied at 18.75. Only the Jets in Buffalo have a lower implied. Well, I guess Cincinnati and LA has a lower too. So there's some bad offenses out there, but I just think that the Giants offer you the stability of playing against Mark Sanchez.
And here's an interesting thing. I was just looking through their depth chart, and it does appear that Mark Sanchez will be the quarterback.
Who's backing up Mark Sanchez?
I mean, is McCoy hurt, or is they just?
Yeah, he broke his
Sanchez? Leg. He's out, right? Yeah. I didn't watch the game. I just saw Sanchez was in. So I don't know. Dotson, is Dotson backing him up?
I have no idea. I think they brought some guys in, and I think they had even talked about Kaepernick, and I think Kaepernick would be an ironic addition for that organization.
Yes.
But no, and actually, I think he run the offense really well. You could run a kind of a running-based attack like Baltimore is with Chris Thompson and Adrian Peterson. I think he'd be pretty effective, but they're not going to do that. I think the Giants, to some lesser extent, I think Buffalo is a good option. I think the Chargers are a good option. I just have a hard time with Buffalo. I've put a lot of money in the survivor pools this year, and I think I've exclusively been knocked out by Buffalo. I have one left, and I just have a hard time. I won't pick against Buffalo because I've just been knocked out so many times.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that hurt. That beat down on Minnesota. I have one of the seller persons at our brewery. She was in a survival pool with, I think, 18 other people. And one person in their pool picked Cleveland that week, and everyone else had Minnesota. And so they won in, what was that, week 3? Week 4?
Yeah, it's brutal.
Over.
It's brutal. The one that I'm in has like 100, 150. Mm-hmm. The second run of it is down to the last, I think, 12 or 15 people at this point. So I've got one entry left. So I'm not picking against Buffalo. That much is certain.
Can't do it. So I think I'm with you. I think I can get behind the Giants. What about you, Mark? You like any of these guys?
I do like the Giants. Let me throw one out there for you, which is Green Bay. So Atlanta coming into the frozen tundra. It's supposed to be in the 20s. And Matt Ryan is horrible outdoors and on the road. And this team's going to be fired up after losing their coach. And they are a mere $2,100. And so it's kind of a punt, but kind of not.
You know what? And I don't project them to be highly owned. I have them in the grouping of defenses along with Baltimore, San Francisco, Oakland, Miami, Cleveland that are just not highly owned. And I like that. I like the analysis. And as a matter of fact, if I sort this by rating as opposed to by price, They're my fourth ranked in my model behind Arizona, the Jets, Detroit. So there could be some problems here with the model.
Yeah, with the Lions there, yeah.
Well, I mean, they are playing Arizona, so
That's true.
if you look at that, the Jets are playing Buffalo, Arizona's playing Detroit, Detroit's playing Arizona, and Green Bay's playing Atlanta. So I will tell you that the Giants are fifth and New Orleans is sixth. So it does get a little bit better, but I like that, and that's the spot where you find the value. Don't go spend $3,700 on Samuels. Don't go diving into the basement for your quarterback. Just go get the Green Bay defense at 2,100.
Yeah. That is exactly what I was thinking too.
I dig it. All right. Well, let's look at tipsy picks. So we're gonna let Mark go above the 4,000 because it's a quarterback, and we're gonna let him take Rosen. Chris, have you put any thought into your tipsy pick of the week? And while you're thinking about that, let's go back and look at last week and who we went with last week. So I picked Jordan Howard to have his first 100-yard rush of the year. He opened the first half with 65 or 69 yards and then finished the game with 65 or 69 yards. Darn it. So close. But, he played well. It was fine, right? I wrote Matt down for beer maker. I don't know what that means. I think I drank a little too much last week. Do you have any idea what that meant? Do you remember?
It was Lacoste.
Oh, yes, Matt Lacoste. There we go. I just wrote Matt. That didn't make any sense to me, but that's quite funny. Chris, you took Greg Olson. That didn't go so well.
Not my fault. Not my fault.
And Mark ran out of time before he could give us one, so your pick was better than his.
Yeah, that's true.
I think my default and what I was trying to say was that Tariq Cohen was going to throw for a touchdown. I swear that's what I said, but you wrote it down. Hey, I'll take it. I also said the Giants would throw 4 interceptions. What I meant was that there'd be 4 interceptions in that game.
Right. I like it.
What I meant was Odell was going to throw 2 touchdowns. So.
Right. That's funny. So I'm looking through the notes I made last week, and it looked like me and Lou Launders were the only ones who gave the Cowboys any credit last week. Everyone in the chat room, every one of our guests, everybody wanted New Orleans. We went the other way. And so, Lou, I'm proud of you, buddy, if you're still listening.
I feel like we just didn't have New Orleans perform up to par. I don't think that the Cowboys had anything to do with it because, as we've learned through Twitter this year, defenses actually don't matter.
I like it. Cha-Cha says his tipsy pick of the week is Deshaun Hamilton, who he thinks is going to step up for Manny Sanders.
That's a good tipsy pick. I like it.
So I'm gonna write Cha-Cha down here. You're in the book, Cha-Cha. What do you think of that? All right, Chris. What you got for a tipsy pick? You got somebody for me?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to stay on brand here. I'm going to go Michael Gallup. He's going to 4x with a touchdown or more.
Yeah, touchdown, 4x value. I'm gonna write. You don't have to give me all that details. I'm gonna write down anyways.
Yeah, I mean, are you really though?
It's
because
more
you wrote
fun
Matt. You wrote Matt for Matt Lacoste.
I did.
You know what it was. So, like, I mean...
And frankly, I'm trying to look at my app, look at the screen, look at the chat room, talk to you guys, and write with one hand. So it's not very good handwriting either.
For Michael Gallup, you might just write, like, saddle or horse or something like that. So,
Something, huh? I am going through here, and I've gone back and forth the whole show trying to pick my person here, and I'm going to go a way you probably would never expect. I'm going to go Antonio Callaway to have the leading receiver game for Cleveland against Carolina.
That highlight must have been real good.
It's real good. A real good highlight. I like it. I just like Callaway's skill set, and it has not been shown, and mostly from dropping balls. But I think he puts it all together this week, man. It's my tipsy pick. I'm feeling tipsy.
You are. Hey,
All right,
so-
here we're going to go. I'm going to need you guys to put down what you got. Score and winner for tonight's game. I know it's already started, but I haven't looked, so don't give me any updates. Score and winner for tonight's game.
I'm going to go Tennessee 17-10.
Chris?
I'm going to go Tennessee 24-13.
I haven't looked at the score, so don't laugh at me if I'm wrong already. I'm going to go Jacksonville 18-15.
How do they get?
18-15.
How do they get to the? How do they get to the 18?
Hey.
Just,
Shh. It's fine. Everything's fine.
I thought you were taking
Everything's fine.
kickers tonight.
Everything's fine.
Sounds
here.
like some 2-point conversions in there.
That's right. I like it.
so hey, do you guys want to know what the score is now that we've given our scores?
Sure.
It is Tennessee 7-0.
Aha! Fair enough.
Nice. Hey, quick question for you guys. Godwin or Humphreys?
For what?
Just which one does
Cash
better?
lineup.
Was Jackson ruled out?
Yes.
Actually, that didn't help me make my decision at all.
I'm going to go Godwin.
You know what? 2 weeks ago, I was the only guy on Humphreys, so I'm going to stay on brand. I'm going to go Humphreys.
All right, so I'm still a coin flip.
Oh, hey, you want to know who scored the touchdown?
Yes, please.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick
I told you. I predicted
Mariota
that
does
one.
have an interception.
Very nice. Very nice.
Oh, look at Fournette. Dude's got 4 yards rushing, -4 receiving.
Yeah, way to go, Fournette. Good job, buddy. All right, man. Well, I'm going to get out of here. If you want to keep the show going for 10 more minutes, you feel free. I got to roll.
I think we're good, so we'll shut it down a little bit early this time. Thank you for everybody joining. Thanks there in the chat room. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Or it's only our second show. We're still working out the kinks. And thanks for joining us again, Chris.
Thanks again for having me.
All right, we are Draft for Upside, and we will talk to you next week.
I want you to be my girl.